Alright, I think it's time I threw my hat in the ring.
With Astrobot right around the corner, it really got me thinking about the state that PlayStation is currently in.
Because let's face it, it ain't good.
Don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely ecstatic about the release of Astro's new game because collectathon platformers are my bread and butter. It's what I grew up with. But as of late, it feels like PlayStation or Sony have been betting on the wrong horses lately.
You see, Sony used to be just as creative as Nintendo at one point.
Of course, this was back in the early days of PlayStation with the original PS1 and majority of the PS2 lineup. I'm talking games like Jak and Daxter, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank. These games defined my childhood. They transported me into bright and colorful worlds that I could only dream of visiting. I remember running straight home from school just to continue my search for King Mickey, or to locate another page from the Thievius Raccoonus, because that's all I thought about all day.
I remember back in first grade when I had no friends, and so I would spend majority of PE talking to the coaches about the story of Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, constantly repeating lines of a specific scene from the game where Mugshot says that Thingus Reckamagookus. For whatever reason, that was the funniest shit to me. And I know the coaches didn't give a damn, but they still listened, and that's what matters.
Anyways, PlayStation used to make these awesome games, and then the PS3 came out, and while they continued to produce awesome games, you could feel a shift happening. Graphics got better, and developers wanted to prove to the world that video games could be just as much of an art form as film. So, games got a little more serious. We were now transported to dark and gritty worlds similar to our own, and while they were cool to play,
I feel that Sony just lost a little bit of that flair. Now don't get me wrong,
I've absolutely loved the output that Sony has given us. Uncharted 4 is one of the best story-driven games I've ever played. The world of Horizon is one of my favorite worlds to explore, and not just because of the story or the gameplay, but the colors of the world. Developers have shot for realism, and that's fine, but it kind of pushes this weird narrative that just because a game is bright or colorful or downright cartoonish, it means that the graphics are bad.
which is foolish. Which is why Astrobot is important.
Astrobot is looking to be one of this year's most creative AAA titles, featuring over 80 levels across 6 different galaxies, 300 bots to rescue, half being representatives of PlayStation's history. It would be an understatement to say that I was excited for this game. I strongly believe that Astrobot can either make or break PlayStation's future. Like I mentioned earlier, Sony was famous for creative, cartoonish IPs, but as technology grew, they traded cute and colorful for dark and realistic. However, throughout the years, Sony would still release games that shared their early roots. Games like Concrete Genie, Gravity Rush, Tearaway, Knack. Just mere examples of PlayStation going back to their roots. But aside from a couple of outliers, these IPs haven't seen any resurgence since their original release. I'm worried that if Astrobot doesn't sell well, PlayStation could look at this as the final nail in the coffin for cartoon platformers, because let's face it, Ratchet and Clank can only do so much to scratch that itch.
At first, I thought that was the point of these remakes, to gauge interest so when they made sequels, people would buy them. But that's not the case.
I'm worried that if Astro doesn't do well, we'll end up seeing more games like Concord, which don't even get me started on that ball of missed potential. I mean, we could have gotten a space heist game, but going for another Overwatch clone really was disheartening. Of course, this is all hypothetical. I don't want to paint a picture that if Astrobot does well,
I mean extremely well,
we could see the potential return of Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, another Concrete Genie, another Gravity Rush, and so much more. We just need this game to succeed. Everyone says we need to vote with our wallets, that'll show the big wigs upstairs on what we really want to see. And I say it's doable. I mean, the new face of the company, Herman Holst, already seems to be dipping his toes into the way things used to be with LEGO Horizon Adventures, which should be fun, if that does well.
I'd love to see LEGO God of War or LEGO Uncharted. I just think that would be fun. Please do well.
But what do you guys think? Do you think Astro has what it takes to show Sony that they can take chances on what made them shine in the first place? Can Astro show the big dogs that he too is worthy of placing a mark on PlayStation's history? I guess what I'm asking is
Astrobot PlayStation Jesus?
God, I hope so. But that's gonna cut it for this video. Post down in the comment section below if you're wanting more hyper-realistic games, or do you want to see some more content like Astro? I'm more than happy to continue this conversation in the comments below, and until next time, y'all have an awesome day. I'll see you next time.